Good. So everybody's here looking alive. I love it. I love it. So I wanted to welcome all of you to Inspiration. And we're going to be piggybacking on yesterday's Inspiration. We talked about the fifth floor. And on the fifth floor was an inspiration that talked about life and experience gaps. And it was pretty interesting in how the consensus was the perception of relationship and how that affects how you give advice or guidance to the people that you're in relationship with. Well, today we're going to be continuing on relationships, and I have a video to share with you. This dude named Tony Robbins, he's a motivational speaker, and he talks about great relationships. And after that, I'd love to get your feedback, folks. And there were a few things that stood out to me as I was watching this video maybe a couple weeks back. It's almost a month old. And I'd like to share it with you all and just kind of talk and see what we get out of it so we can continue to hammer away at this idea of relationships and how important relationships are, regardless of whether you're a parent, boyfriend, girlfriend, marriage, child, whatever the case may be. So sit back, relax. I ask you to open up your heart and your mind. And as we kick off this video, let's see what we can learn here.
What destroys an intimate relationship? That's easy. It's focusing on yourself. The more you focus on yourself, the more you will distance yourself from your relationship, the more the person will feel not important, unloved. And I don't care how great the relationship started out. Think about it. In the beginning of a relationship, when you really desire somebody, when you really love somebody, what will you do for them? The answer is anything, right? Anything. They say, would you take out the trash? Take out the trash. Happy to do it, right? But after 7 days, 7 years, 7 decades, whatever it is, there's a point when someone says, will you take out the trash? You go, what do I look like? You're a janitor. I don't know what it was. We used to have so much passion. The more you make a relationship about what you're getting, the weaker the relationship is. A relationship, an intimate relationship, is not a place you go to get things. If you do that, you're always going to be disappointed. It's a place you go to give things. If you can fall in love with somebody so much that you live to light them up, and lighting them up lights you up, done deal. If you do what you did in the beginning of the relationship, at the end of the relationship, there won't be an end. Love is something you just give freely. I trade everything in my life for the intimate life that I have with my wife. It's that extraordinary. We're not sitting here measuring what we're getting or what we're not getting. You start to do that, it's like the death rattle to any relationship. If you want to have a great relationship, the first thing you have to do is commit to a life of living in a beautiful state. Living in a state where you don't give away your happiness so easily. Most people give away their happiness the minute somebody does something different than what they wanted them to do. Most people, someone that didn't do what they say they're going to do and they're pissed off. It's part of life. I'm not going to sit around and suffer. Suffering is when you're constantly measuring what people did or didn't do or what you did or didn't do. And I think if you really want to take your life to the next level, you got to focus on what you're here to give instead of what you're here to get. It's that simple.
And that's all she wrote on that one. What did you guys think of that? Was that a cool video? Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed that video. It was pretty cool. A lot of nuggets in there I'm going to be sharing with you. So let me do this. Let me jump into my slide here. If you're just joining us, I wanted to welcome you to Inspiration. If you're on a laptop, desktop, we have the chat lines open so you can text if you don't care to speak. We'd love to hear from you, your reactions or thoughts. And if you're taking notes, here's one thing I want to share with you from what I got out of this. Relationship breakers. Focusing on yourself 100% of the time. Big time relationship breaker. We spent a couple inspirations on that a while back, talking about where you give all of yourself away and you don't do you. You don't have a healthy balance of others plus yourself. But look at this dude, man. That's pretty selfish. Wouldn't you say, folks? Took the baby's candy. Like, wow, dude. Seriously? Like, you can't get your own? So focusing 100% on yourself and not focusing on others as well. It's big time no-no. It's a relationship breaker. Or how about this? I call this slide the perception gap, everybody. The perception gap. So people who are only self-focused, they increase the perception gap of the other person who could benefit from their life, but they won't, because the focus is on what they can get out of it instead of what they can give to it. So I call this the perception gap because perception is when you understand something, when you get it on the inside. And the fifth floor inspiration talked about the Empire State Building and how the view you have on the observation deck is a lot different from the view on the ground floor. And the space in between are the different floors of experience that one obtains throughout life. And when you're in a relationship, one of the things you do when you love somebody is you give them your experiences and your perspective on things. And so the perception gap is when you sort of miss the mark, right? You don't know how to reach someone's heart or mind, and therefore that person who's on the ground floor, who's sort of beginning life, doesn't really know how to go up the stairs to experience more things and learn how to navigate the ups and downs of life. So that's the perception gap. You only focused on what you can get, okay, instead of what you can give. How about this one? What you're getting versus what they're getting. You know, Tony said in the video, the more you make a relationship about what you're getting, the weaker the relationship is. And I want to let you know that whether you are a parent, you are part of a couple type relationship, a relative, a friend, regardless, a lot of people go through this. You know, if the loved one doesn't meet an expectation, and I highlight that in red, whether it's consciously known or unknown, the results can lead to just frustration, regret, anger, bitterness, just a bunch of toxic stuff. You see, a lot of times the perception gap, meaning the space between what you're wanting to give to someone because you love them and what they're receiving, is because there's expectations not being managed in a healthy way. That's why Tony said, when you focus on what you're getting only, the relationship gets very, very weak. Let me just stop there. I want to make sure we're all tracking there. Does that make sense to everyone? Expectations? Okay. Wow, it's like everybody raised their thumbs like unison. That was interesting. You guys like had a team meeting about that or what? So, all right, let's jump back in. How about this one? Giving always leads to receiving. I mean, we've heard that before. And Tony said, you live to light up, and lighting that other person up lights you up. Okay, fuzzy, cool. What does that really mean? Well, here's what it means, folks. When you invest in the person or the persons you really care about, you're going to find out how to reach their heart. If you're taking notes, okay, you're going to find out how to reach a person's heart and their mind and their emotions in a way that they perceive it. There's that word again, perceive it. You see, when you're loving on someone, you're not loving on them for you. I mean, you're going to get something out of it because it's going to light you up, but it's about taking care of their basic needs because you just love them, you care for them. And when you can do it in a way that they perceive it, for instance, if someone receives love through gifts, meaningful gifts, well, it's not that spending time with them doesn't mean anything, but if you get them a gift that they care about and spend time, they're going to enjoy it. And not just any gift. It's a gift that will specifically speak to who they are or what they represent. Is going to mean the world to them. And folks, when you do this, whether you are a parent, where you are a relative, in a marriage situation, boyfriend, girlfriend, or even in a work situation, whatever the case may be, this process eventually leads to both people being fulfilled in the relationship. And that speaks to us. Not just me, not just you, but us. Okay? So, one quick tip for those folks who are still learning about relationships. Tony mentioned something that I've heard Robert mention for the years that I've known him. Robert's a senior life coach, and from his experience, he shares and teaches for those who are learning how to be coaches, that if you do what you did in the beginning, at the end, there won't be an end. In other words, choose every day to make time to reach the heart and mind of the person that you say you care for. If you're able to do that, and which, by the way, is just a universal principle, if you're able to do that, you will not only avoid a lot of heartache, damaged relationships, misperceptions, and a lot of drama that happens in all of our relationships, more than what we probably really think it should be happening. You're not only going to avoid that stuff, but you're going to grow the relationship. How many of you would love to grow relationships and not just maintain? I see hands going up. So yeah, I mean, there's moms and dads out there that are thinking, oh my gosh, I wish I can connect to my son or my daughter. I love them so dearly. I would die for them. Yet something tells you on the inside, they don't quite get that. I mean, we know that because, oh yeah, that's mom, that's dad, or yeah, that's your spouse. You know, they're supposed to back you up. They're supposed to love you, but is it perceived? I mean, do you want to just exist in your relationships, or do you want to live in your relationships? I want to live. I bet many, if not all of you, want to live in any relationship that you are at. Maybe you're single. You're saying, well, I don't have a boyfriend or girlfriend. That's okay. You can have a wonderful relationship with your coworkers by not confusing the dynamics of what that relationship is about. Or whether you are a member of your local church, or whether you are part of a local team. Whatever the case may be, you can live and thrive in any relationship that you are at, especially if you have a relationship with you and God. And how many tens of thousands of folks that are out there that feel so bad and so blue and so like messed up because they think God is treating them a certain way, and somehow that gets all mixed up along the way, and they end up influencing in their human relationships how they perceive that they are treated by God in their relationship with Him. So at the end of the day, we're all humans. We're all kind of doing silly stuff, but at least we can focus in on some of the universal principles of relationships by treating that loved one as if like you first met them, where you're kind and loving and fuzzy and cool and polite and all that kind of good stuff, and never losing it. You know, one of the lessons I got as I am becoming older and learning more about relationships is to attempt consciously to treat that person that I'm in relationship with as if it's new every single day. And it takes work. It takes goodness. It takes appreciating them. It takes getting out of yourself. And not to the point where you never do you, but having that balance and being considerate about that person and yourself. Are you tracking with me, everybody? So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I wanted to get your guys' reaction to this video. What stood out to you? So that's the question. What stood out to you about having good relationships? I'm unmuting folks. Phil, what stood out to you, man? Let's start with you. Maybe we'll go to Bobby. Who else we got here? Maybe Rachel, just randomly picking people. Go ahead, Phil.
Sure. So lately I've been reading The Purpose-Driven Life.
Okay, cool book.
And the last day or so been about, you know, how we respond to God's love, you know, and I guess it's basically saying the same thing, you know, that it's not about the focus on us, it's all about the focus on Him. You know, we were created for the purpose to, can you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
The purpose to, you know, reciprocate the love that He gave us. That's what our purpose is to love God, you know. So it was cool today just because it's the same way we need to, you know, respond to others, that it's not about ourselves. It's not what do we get, you know, to be, you know, just aware of how important it is on their perception of, you know, how much we love them, I guess.
Yeah. Key word, everybody, if you're taking notes, perception. Perception's a big piece in the relationship puzzle. Perception, how you understand or how you're vibing from that person who says that they love you. You know, the Bible references that if we love God or love Jesus, we'll follow him knowing that he's a great leader to follow. Well, think about it. If you're not perceiving or understanding that you're loved by someone else, why would you follow them? It's like stupid. Unless you perceive you're loved, you're not going to follow anybody. Husbands, unless your wives are perceive that you love them, it's going to be very difficult for them to follow you. Parents, unless your children perceive that you love them, and I'm not talking about just the fuzzy stuff. That's cool. That seems very easy. Not to everybody, but for the most part, I think it seems very easy. But it's the balance of the affection plus discipline, not punishment, but discipline, that full package of love. Unless children perceive that, regardless of their age or maturity, it's going to be really hard for them to follow you. You know, there's lots of folks out there that are being loved and they don't even know it because they don't perceive it. They just don't perceive it. There's a lot of abuse, a lot of neglect, a lot of rejection going around. Sometimes even in our own homes, and we don't even mean to do it. It's happening. So by talking about this and shedding some light on it, we'll have an even greater chance of letting that person, that son or daughter or relative, friend, that lover, whomever, know that you really do care about them. And that power of love, it's really going to make a difference in their heart. That's why relationships, you got to invest in them. And how do you invest in them is being conscientious about how you're relating to others. So we'll take one more. Bobby, I don't know if you're free or available. We'd love to get your reaction to the video and kind of what we're talking about here. Give you a second or two to unmute yourself if you're available. Okay, we'll go to Domingo and Rachel. Hey, folks, love to get your thoughts or reactions from what you got out of the video. You can unmute yourself there on the laptop.
I just wanted to share something. I noticed on the video where it talked about careful about like how you just kind of give your joy to everybody or something real close to that. And yes. when I heard that, I realized that, you know, being in the ministry, where I'm coming from, where I've noticed is that, you know, naturally we are quick to give our joy to a lot of people, different, you know, things. But what I realized for myself as a parent, and where I just saw this, is that even though I give joy to my kids, in all honesty, I give them more. Sometimes I give it more to other people, and so they see me that way at church and everything. And then when we come home, well, I'm just like a total disciplinary person, and it's kind of like there's not enough joy left for them. It's really sad, you know. So I just realized that right now that I have to be careful and keep a balance too, because I mean, your children are at home, and you have to also, you know, you have to give them that joy and share with them the same way. And so that's where I found myself right now. I saw it, I said, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Didn't realize that I was being that way sometimes, you know? Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. You make a good point, Rachel. You know, I kind of liken it like this. You know, in relationships, one of the things I learned from my coaches and just through trial and error, to be honest with you, is that, you know, if you got a full day's schedule, whatever it is that you're doing, leave enough room in the tank of your heart for the people that you say you care about the most. You know, if you're going on a trip and you have several miles, maybe 100 miles going there, just have enough gas or money so that you can fill up, so that when you come home, you have enough to get home. It would not make sense to go on a trip unless you count the cost of the gas and all the wear and tear and everything that goes along with the trip. And so likewise, for parents, husbands, whoever's a leader in your home, your friends, just leave enough in the tank. Leave enough in the tank, especially for those in your inner circle, right? Those select few that you just love the most. They're like your, you know, folks that you would just die for, your inner circle. Leave enough for them. And when you choose to do that by just saying, I decide, and thank you, God, that I'm going to leave enough gas in the tank of my heart, enough energy, enough care, enough patience, enough long suffering, enough goodness, enough kindness, enough kind words, whatever the case may be. I'm going to reserve a special amount, a premium amount for the people that I say that I love the most. And that's automatic. I don't care if you are a leader of a large group. You always want to keep that special reserve, that 5-gallon tank. Always got to keep that. Your emergency. Not that you want to give leftovers to your children, but you get the idea. You leave a special amount aside for your babies, regardless of whether they are in the home, out of the home because they left or they've graduated or they moved on. You always leave a special amount for those you care about. I do this as a conscious practice. This is a lifestyle. For some of you, it's just a matter of just taking an assessment of your priorities and just rearranging your amounts so that you can give the choice meat to the children. You know, it was interesting. The Bible references that the children get the bread.
Yeah.
Those who are in or who have like-mindedness with you, who share your culture, your lifestyle, those who you say you're really cool, you're tight, that's my dog, that's my dude right there, that's my ride or die, we're really close friends, my best friend, words like that. You give them your best. Always. Now, as humans, we don't always do that. How many of you agree? Give me a thumbs up that, we don't always do that. However, that would be more of the exception, not the rule of thumb. Okay? If you're a parent, you've decided to be in charge and to guide your children for literally 2 dime pieces, 20 years. Because at 18, you're still not done. You got to transition them into mature adulthood. Okay? It's a lot of work. But we can reduce the perception of this, that feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm worn out, when you just leave some in the tank. Okay? Gotta leave some in the tank. Does that make sense, folks?
Yes.
Regardless of your age or maturity, just leave some in the tank. Okay? Lastly, let's close with this. Carla, she mentioned, people say that relationships are 50% of you and 50% of them. But actually, it takes 100% of both of you. I like that. It's a good one, Carla.
Yeah, Naomi said it. I can't take credit. Thank you.
Naomi. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Naomi, props to you. Thanks for coming to the rescue, Carla. Okay, cool. Hey, I'll write a new check. I'll send it to you, Naomi, okay?
One thing I do want to say, though, is, because I love this topic, is to, as we begin to experience this in our lives, and a lot of the times, for those who, I look at myself. I was 14-year-old. When I was 14 years old, I was angry. I was bitter, had all kinds of emotional issues, anger issues, and things. And all it took was one person who knew this and who decided to be, quote unquote, the bigger person, because they knew more about love than I did, and they decided to extend that to me.
Yeah.
As I begin to experience that, I in turn wanted to share that with everyone else. And the more that we do this to each other, and the more that we invest and love, each other, that we are going to see ourselves in our relationships and our lives in a better place. I mean, I look at myself, I'm 31 now, so almost about 15 years later, it boggles my mind at times still that I walk around with a smile, and that I wave people. A lot of the girls that I work with, they're always like, why are you always waving to people? Why are you always smiling at somebody? I'm like, well, I can't help it, because when you've been loved so much in spite of, and I was being loved on when I was my most unlovable, that I can't help but to want to give that to everyone that I see, and it has become, I like how Alex said it, it was a choice for a long time. I had to choose to do this and make conscious effort. But as I began to just practice love every day, I don't really have to think about it anymore. You know, it just comes naturally to me that to be able to just love people. And I love that, you know, that I'm so excited that I've come to this place in my life that I can just love people without, I don't have to know you. I don't care what you've done, what you haven't done. And I'm just going to give of who I am to you and do exactly what someone has done for me, and what they have shown me was that unconditional love. And I love what Maya Angelou said. I don't know if you guys know who Maya Angelou. She was a great poet, activist, writer, author, speaker. She said something. She said, people will forget what you said to them. People will forget, you know, the things that you said or what you did. She said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And I can tell you, I don't remember a lot of the things that people have said to me, but I can never forget how they made me feel, and that was loved. And as we begin to experience this love for ourselves, we in turn do it to everyone else, and it's an amazing, amazing thing.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Wow, I am moved by this inspiration. I love it.
Bringing it.
Yeah. Right on, Girls Home. I love it. Folks, man, this ride is over. Man, I wish we can go a little bit longer, but it is over. It is time for you and I to warm up the car, get out the parking lot, and drive and put this stuff into practice. So I'm encouraging all of you, as you finish out the rest of your morning and the day, just keep that in mind and be alert to those opportunities where you can practice loving on people, investing in people, whether it be a smile or a high five. And it doesn't matter if they're a stranger, just high five them. I talk to cash register folks all the time because it's how I practice. So I'm encouraging you to do that. Also, I want you guys to go to facebook.com/heart transformation. I want to build this into our culture here. And share what this inspiration meant to you. Put a comment, maybe some tips of how you invest in others so that we can all learn and add it to our tool belt, that kind of thing. So that's all for today. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time here on Inspiration.
Bye, guys.
See ya.